Diversity Journeys for 7th graders began in 2003 as a part of a broader religious diversity initiative with a grant from the Community Foundation for Southeastern Michigan to the Jewish Community Relations Council of Metropolitan Detroit. In 2005, the program was taken over by the Michigan Roundtable for Diversity and Inclusion, and the Jewish Community Relations Council and the Oakland County Superintendents Association continue to support the program. Currently, the Religious Diversity Journeys for 7th graders program is being sponsored by the Interfaith Leadership Council of Metropolitan Detroit. The Religious Diversity Journeys have involved 25 7th grade students chosen from each of 5 school districts in Oakland County, Michigan. These school districts include Berkeley, Bloomfield Hills, Clarkston, Walled Lake, and West Bloomfield. Each student becomes part of a diverse team of 5, 1 member from each of the participating school districts. And through the journeys, each team has to plan a presentation comparing and contrasting some aspect of all the religions studied. The purpose of this program is to promote greater understanding, awareness, and knowledge concerning the many religions prevalent in the Metro Detroit area and to prepare students for life in our increasingly diverse society. The diversity message for the students, with pointed discussion about the negative effects of prejudice and stereotyping of different religious groups, has become an integral part of each journey. The chosen 7th graders participate in 5 school day field trips that focus on the differences and similarities among the major religions that include Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. Students who have completed these journeys have demonstrated in their evaluations of the program that it was enormously successful. As each district must use parent drivers to transport students from the home school to the site of each journey, parent involvement, therefore, has been a crucial factor in community understanding of the program and ultimately in the high degree of support and promotion of the religious diversity journeys. The organizers of this program have been very cognizant of the constitutional provisions regarding the separation of church and state, and thus are very careful to teach about religion, not religion itself. Students learn about some of the traditions, culture, and holidays associated with each religion, without being preached to or proselytized. The purpose of this program is to give students a base of knowledge about the different religions in the metropolitan Detroit area in order to dispel myths and stereotypes. Today, we live in a multi-faith society, and to be an American is to live in a world in which people who practice unfamiliar faiths are our next-door neighbors and our fellow classmates at school. Increased understanding and in-depth relationships prevent prejudicial thinking, which in turn eliminates the fear that leads to negative attitudes and behaviors. Our hope is that the Religious Diversity Journeys will help to make the unfamiliar other into our familiar friend. The 2006 Religious Diversity Journeys for 7th graders is shown in this videotape. We began the program with our first journey to Judaism in January. We visited Congregation Beth Shalom Synagogue in Oak Park, Michigan. Upon arrival at all of the journeys, the 125 students were treated to a cultural snack that fit in with the religion being studied. Students were given color-coded name tags and asked to write in the corners of their name tags information about their interests, an exercise that we called the name tag rag. Using that information, they formed diverse teams of 5, 1 team member from each of the school districts. Teams were then assigned presentation topics for the 5th and final journey. Some of the research topics include the following: compare and contrast different kinds of food in the different religions, the kinds of prayers and holidays in each religion, the type of music associated with each religion's culture and service, life passages and ceremonies for each of the religions that we have studied. Following lunch, the 125 students went into the main sanctuary and met with Rabbi David Nelson, Reverend Sammy Semp, and Cantor Sam Greenbaum. They presented the main ideas and symbols of Judaism with clarity and humor and answered the students' questions, which had to do with their final presentations. The clergy at Beth Shalom treated us to a chanting from the Torah, the Hebrew Bible, and a blowing of the shofar, which is done during the Jewish New Year. Our journey to Judaism ended with a reenactment by Ellen Bates Brackett, director of the Workmen's Circle, of an Eastern European Jewish wedding ceremony, along with klezmer music and dancing. We saw the chuppah over the bride and groom's heads, and the groom breaking the traditional glass at the end of the ceremony. What a fun way to end our journey. Our second journey in February was about Islam, and we took our students to the Muslim Unity Center Mosque in Bloomfield Hills. We started the day by breaking the students up into two groups. Group 1 saw a video about Muslim teens around the world entitled Arabs, Muslims, Islam. One important fact that the students learned was that not all Muslims are Arabs. The majority of Muslims are Asian. And not all Arabs are Muslim. Many are Christian. Group 2 saw a very fascinating slide presentation about Islamic art and the repeating geometric circles, squares, and hexagons found in mosques and buildings in the Middle East, Jerusalem and Spain, for example. The students then got to try their own hands at creating geometric patterns. The highlight again was the great lunch. Great tabbouleh, hummus, pita, fattoush, grape leaves, and pickled turnips. Following lunch, the students were privileged to hear an excellent and informative PowerPoint presentation by Mimo Debran, a member of the Muslim Unity Center, who explained the major tenets of Islam and answered some questions. Imam Musa, the Sheikh of the Unity Center, also joined us. Before we all adjourned for our home schools, Imam Musa brought everyone into the prayer hall. After taking off our shoes and the girls covering their heads, Imam Musa demonstrated what the Muslim call to prayer sounded like and wished us a safe journey back to class.
سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر
Our third religious diversity journey was to the Bharatiya Temple in Troy in March, where we studied three religions, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Hinduism. We were treated to a morning demonstration by Raman Singh, member of the Sikh Foundation, about how the Sikhs put on their headscarves. One lucky 7th grade student was chosen to come up on stage and have a turban wound around his head. Raman Singh then answered many of the students' questions about the Sikh religion, and a very interesting conversation ensued about why the Sikhs have been stereotyped and targeted in this country, especially since 9/11. And of course, the highlight was the vegetarian Indian lunch. We dined on dum aloo, Malay kofta, vegetable jalfrezi, naan, vegetable pulao, raita, and finally, kheer for dessert. The afternoon brought three fascinating rotations through Sikhism, Buddhism, and Hinduism. Our fourth religious diversity journey brought us in April to the Mother of God Chaldean Catholic Church in Southfield, Michigan, where we studied Christianity and the Chaldean culture, which is quite prevalent in Oakland County, and the school districts involved in the journeys. We began with an assessment of our group's family heritages. Students were given a passport that they had to fill out, giving information about where their ancestors came from. Students were then asked to go to different parts of the room which were labeled Europe, Asia, Africa, North America, Latin America, etc. We then calculated on a bar graph what percentage of our 125 7th graders came from each area of the world. Students then got together in their teams and were asked to discuss what the Earth's population looked like. We also looked at shocking figures for select groups of people around the world, such as those who lived in substandard housing, 80%, those who were unable to read, 70%, those who suffered from malnutrition, 50%, those who had a college education, only 1%, and those who owned a computer, also only 1%. Our follow-up discussion was that our 125 Religious Diversity Journey 7th graders were members of a very lucky select and elite group, with food in the refrigerator, clothes on their backs, a place to sleep, money in the bank, and a computer. The next hour was devoted to a learning session about the Chaldean culture. Students watched a video about the history of the Chaldeans in metropolitan Detroit, heard an interesting personal narrative about life in Iraq and the challenges of immigration to the United States by Naran Karmo, a Chaldean parent of one of our 7th grade participants. Father Boji, priest of the Mother of God Chaldean Catholic Church, himself shared some of his personal immigration story with us. Again, students indulged in a wonderful lunch with a Chaldean theme. Chicken cream chop, beef kebab, hummus and pita bread, salad, saffron rice, falafel, cookies, and fruit. Following lunch, students were treated to a panel discussion about 3 different denominations of Christianity. Father Manuel Boji, Chaldean Catholic priest, the Reverend Sharon Buttry, Baptist minister, and the Reverend Dan Appleyard, Episcopalian minister, discussed the similarities and differences of their different sects of Christianity and answered questions from the students. Our wonderful journey ended with a presentation by West Bloomfield counselor Summer Yono about Chaldean costumes, music, and a spirited dance demonstration. Father Boji then led all the students into the church's sanctuary, where he discussed the stories behind each of the stained glass windows and pointed out symbols at the altar. Our last journey was called the Summation Session. This was the time for our 25 teams of students to present their research projects that were assigned during the first journey.
Brahma, the creator, has 4 heads to see in every direction. He is said to be very wise, for he is the maker of everything on earth.
When he was 40 years old, God spoke to him for the first time as an angel. He told Muhammad to tell the people of Mecca to worship the one true God, and he did.
At this final journey, and continuing back at students' home schools, students and teachers brainstormed how they could use their knowledge of religious diversity to impact their school and their community and to make their world a better place. The students' comments sum it all up.
Yes, because now I can see from both sides of the argument and can understand both points of view.
Now I have ways to argue against things. Now I don't believe the stereotypes against Middle Eastern people anymore.
I won't be so quick to judge other religions now and won't believe stereotypes.
Religious diversity journey has made me open up my eyes to different religions other than my own. It has helped me realize that all religions are important and we should help each other and appreciate one another.
We hope to continue this very valuable program educating our 7th graders in Oakland County, Michigan about religious diversity. We are working towards securing additional funding to allow this program to continue promoting greater understanding, awareness, and knowledge of the many religions prevalent in our society today in the greater metropolitan Detroit area.
For more information, contact Meredith Skolronsky at the Interfaith Leadership Council for Metropolitan Detroit. You can email her at meredith.skolronsky@gmail.com.